Happy Monday, MFFLs. It is Dallas Mavericks today. Harrison, Graham, and Jeffrey Cooperstein. And a couple of tough games over the weekend as some trends are starting to emerge for this basketball team. And I think the main takeaway, Coop, well, really two takeaways that we're going to dive into. One, the Mavs are beating who they're supposed to, but they're not beating the top-tier teams. And two, the defense, as we kind of thought coming into the season, is a pretty big problem right now.
Yeah, the defense hasn't been good. We can address the first one here really quick. If you look at teams that are supposed to be quote-unquote good, they're 1-3 against. They scored 145 points against the Clippers, and that was their only win. The other ones, they just haven't been able to get any stops against Denver, Milwaukee, and Sacramento. And that's kind of the alarming trend that we're going to take a look at here is why can't the Mavericks frankly stop anybody? They have the ability. They have enough good defensive players to where they should not be a bottom 5 defensive team.
Yeah, and the Milwaukee game was a bummer because we knew that'd be a tough one on the road, but they were up going into the fourth and then got outscored 43-26 in that final period. I mean, they just got absolutely blitzed by Giannis, Dame, and that Bucks offense. And obviously on the second half of back-to-back struggled against a high-potent Sacramento team as well. And Jason Kidd made this point. We'll get to his quote in a minute, but against these top-tier opponents specifically, Coop, like if they're not scoring 130, they're not winning.
Yeah, Jason Kidd mentioned as much. We'll just go to the quote right now because he basically said that verbatim. If they're not scoring, they're not winning ball games. Here's exactly what he said. Until we can understand and be connected on the defensive end, then we'll be able to make strides. But right now, our best defense is our offense. If we aren't scoring 130, it's hard to win. So even he knows that they're playing basically bad defense, and their best defense right now is to be able to outscore opponents, and that's how they're winning games.
Yeah, and even Luka Doncic said after the game, look, we got to play better defense, yada, yada. And look, I don't think anyone's asking for this to be like a top 10 defense. It's like, can you be like 18th? Can you be 20? Like, if you're a top 20 defense, you're probably going to win 50 games because this team's so good offensively.
Can you just not be 26th?
Yeah, and that number's been going up, by the way. It's been trending toward the worst in the league. In recent,
the Spurs with Wemby being up here is kind of surprising as well. But
yeah,
there's no way this is a sustainable model for winning. If the Mavericks are bottom 5 in defense throughout the season, they won't be a serious playoff contender. So something has to improve. How they get there, I don't know, but there's some changes that they need to make to be able to be more stingy on.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's short-term things they need to do. There's, roster questions you could have, like, is there, could they do stuff at the trade deadline? That's certainly a possibility, but you can't just be like, well, we'll do something at the deadline. Like, you got to figure things out now.
Deadline's in February, man. They got to figure it out now.
Yeah, like, even if it's not like a permanent fix, like, you have to like mitigate this to a certain extent. I think like the obvious ones are, look, the effort's probably just going to be a little sharper. The details have to be a little bit sharper overall.
And we've seen it in stretches too. Like they can play good defense. This team is not incapable of playing, good defense. They've done it before. They do it in games. They just can't put it together over a consecutive period of time.
Yeah, I mean, even that Milwaukee game, like, you weren't playing great defense, but they were at around 90 points through 3 quarters. That's not bad on the road against them, but then you give up 43 in the final quarter. Like, it just can't happen. I mean, you can't give up 40-point quarters consistently, and this team has done that at various times. Yeah, throughout this season. We'll talk a little bit more about where this team is and some things they can do to improve. But first, if you want to improve your pockets, make some money, do so with PrizePicks. It's a lot of fun. Daily fantasy made easy. Coop and I have been playing all season long. We started in the football season. That's been continuing. Obviously, that's carried over into NBA, college basketball, NHL season as well. A little Monday Night Football entry for you guys. This is 20 to win 100 here. DeAndre Swift, we're going to go less on his rushing and receiving yards combined. Patrick Mahomes, this feels like a Mahomes game, doesn't it, right? Like they've kind of been up and down this year. Give me the more on his passing yards. Yeah, coming out, Andy Reid off a bye week too. And then Jalen Hurts more as well. I think it's going to be a shootout tonight in Kansas City. The quarterback should be showing off. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use our code CLNS. You can win up to 25 times your money on any given entry. 2 to 6 player entries. The more players, the more bang for your buck. Get started today. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. That code is in and link is in the comments and in the description of this video. It's pretty clear, Coop, that Jason Kidd wants this to be at least a solid defense because when he was on that Lakers coaching staff, like, that's what they did. They defended at a high level, and that's in his DNA. When the Mavericks won a championship in 2011, sure, They had Dirk, who became the best player in the world in that postseason run and for most of that season.
But they also had Deshaun Stevenson. They had Sean Marion.
They won because they played great
Tyson
team
Chandler.
defense. And that's the thing. It's not just about having one stopper. It's about 5 guys on the floor doing their part.
And when you look at the Mavs team that went to the Western Conference Finals in Jason Kidd's first season, top 10 defensive team. When you look at any team that the Mavericks have had that have gone deep in the playoff run, they've been a top-tier defensive team, and that's what Jason Kidd wants. He's talked about it all of last year and all of this year. All he wants is for them to guard at a respectable level. His favorite phrase, his favorite buzzword, and I love it, is he wants them to participate on defense.
Yeah.
If they participate on defense, this team will be very hard to beat.
Yeah, and look, and sometimes Luka is a good example of this. We've talked about this a million times. Some people believe us, some don't, but the numbers suggest this. When Luka is engaged defensively, he's an above-average defender. Like, he's not bad on that end of the floor, and I think that's this team in general, really. Like, if they're competing and grinding on that end, sure, they may not be top 5, maybe they're not even top 10, but I think they're top 15.
There was a play in that Bucks game where they were down the stretch. The Mavs are down 3. And Lillard got an ISO on Luka, and Luka clamped him up completely for 20 seconds. And then Lillard throws just a ridiculous pass in the corner to Pat Connaughton, who makes it and basically was the dagger for the Mavericks. But Luka can guard the best players in the world when he's engaged and when he wants to. It's just a matter of doing it on a more consistent level.
So what is you guys' concern level about the Mavericks defense so far? Scale from 1 to 10. I mean, I'm not going to go full 9-10 because we have seen good stretches. I'll say like a 7. I
think like a 6. It's not like it's grave concern, like drop everything, but it is like something to keep an eye on.
I think it's details and effort, and then yes, there are some deficiencies. We've said you need a second center. You need probably one more defensive wing. Like there are, but like at the same time, I think you've got enough to at least be league average. And if you're league average, you're probably, you're 9-5 right now. You're probably 12-2 if you're league average. So that's just the reality of it. Scale it from 1 to 10. Let us know how concerned you are. And I think a good test coming up, Coop, against some good offensive firepower teams, Lakers, Clippers, and Rockets. We're making fun of the Clippers recently, and they still dropped 126 against Dallas.
Yeah, they scored 126 on the Mavs. They just scored 144. But, yeah, no, these will be 3 tough tests for sure, especially 2 on the road in L.A. Rockets are much improved, especially on the offensive end as well. So definitely 3 tough tests coming up, and let's see if Jason Kidd's word rings true because the Mavs really do need to figure it out quick.
Yeah, it'd be nice to split those LA games and then come home and beat the Rockets. And, I don't want to say like steady the ship. I mean, they've lost 2 in a row. They're 9-5.
They're fine.
They're playing good basketball. But it's more like thinking big picture. Like, okay, like clearly barring something unforeseen, that's going to be a playoff team. The question is this a team that can do something in the playoffs? And they're going to have to defend at a higher level if they want to be that type of team. So, Coop, we came up with a few things that can help this team defensively. I think you got to play Omax more, number 1.
And that's kind of been a trend that's been happening over the past couple of weeks as Omax has gotten more and more minutes as time goes on. They sent him down to the G League for a stint there, and he played really well. And he's kind of been at the back end of this rotation getting a little bit more minutes. Maybe you mix him in a little bit more just to get his length and athleticism on the court because he is a guy that's going to help you change the game defensively as well.
More of a big picture one. I think trading for a backup center is definitely going to help. You got to get more rebounds. Can't give up second chance opportunities. We've talked about him ad nauseum. I think if the Bulls blow things up, an Andre Drummond type would be perfect. Come in here and relieve Derek Lively a bit. And look, Derek Lively's still been good, but he's hit a bit of an early rookie wall. Like it's not going to be.
It's to be expected.
It's not going to be 75 games of high level play from him. Like you need another player who's played in this league for a while at that position to give you some run. And the beauty of Drummond too, Coop, he can start if you need him to. He can come off the bench. Like
he can play a variety of roles.
Exactly.
He's not a guy that's going to be an absolute lockdown defender, but he can do enough, and he's a great rebounder as well, which is also somewhere where the Mavericks struggle. So yeah, I would like a guy like Andre Drummond. A trade probably doesn't come until at least after Christmas, but that, like you said, that's more of a big picture one. And then number 3 is get Maxi Kleber healthy. I mean, he has a foot injury. He's been out for a couple of weeks. I think he's expected to be reevaluated at the end of next week, so at least 10 days from now.
Yeah.
Maxi isn't what he once was, obviously, but he still is a decent defender.
Still a plus defender.
And the Mavs kind of need that guy who could be another one to get more stops because what they have right now isn't working.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. So we'll see how the next few weeks go, and hopefully the Mavs can bounce back here Not overly concerned with the team overall. I mean, if you told me before the year they'd be 9-5, I think I'd absolutely sign up for that. So we're not hitting the panic button. Just a couple of trends that we want to monitor as we move forward. He's Jeffrey Cooperstein. I'm Harrison Graham. Get the MFFLs in the comments. And I think we'll be back on Wednesday for a video before Thanksgiving. So subscribe and join us then.